I get so many questions about how to build a business these days that I wanted to be able to create some videos, a playlist that if you want to build a business, you can just follow it step by step. Or if you know someone else who might want to build a business themselves, then you can just share this playlist with them. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go step by step and build this thing in public. What I mean by building in public is I genuinely don't even know what business I will be building over the next bunch of however many videos it takes, and you'll get to see every ounce of the behind the scenes. Now, if you are trying to create anything, a business, but also it could be being a creator doing paintings like this, doing poetry, a podcast, starting to do copywriting or ghostwriting for people, write a book, whatever it is, I think you should build in public too. However, there's a huge if. You should build in public if you can do it without slowing you down. And the reason why I say that is that it was super painful for me wanting to be someone who could build in public, but struggling with it because I would always be overthinking the difference between making the thing and then getting that done, but also creating the content that shows the behind the scenes. And it would almost be like having two projects instead of one. And that for me was really something that slowed me down. I would overthink the content that I was creating and be like, okay, I want to work on the book. Well, how do I build that in public? I could go live and I could do my writing live, but wait, that's boring. So I should create a video about how I wrote the first chapter or how I figured out the title or how I'm going to hire an editor or get my first 100 people to buy the book or something like that. And then I would make this list of build in public content and that would stack up. And when I would shift to focus on that, it would slow me down from writing the actual book. And that would happen with anything that I would do. So the main way to prevent that is, like Mark Manson says in The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, is to stop giving a shit about what you create in terms of the behind the scenes content. Just make sure that you make it fairly quickly. So that could be a daily log. It could just be something like this. I hope this playlist is a great meta example for you about how to build in public, because I'm going to build this business and I hope you get to see every single step that I take and you get to share it with people. But I'm not scripting or editing or taking a long time to do it. It's just going to get pumped out because I have to spend most of the time on building the business. All right, so where does this all come from? A lot of times I get thank you letters from people that I've worked with, and I was wanting to find some way to give back to people who have written thank you letters, but don't really have a super organized place that they can send other people to say, look, Justin helped me a lot and he can help you too. Here's where. Most of my content, because it's a podcast and it goes on for years, or a blog, online writing, it's kind of all over the place. So I wanted to curate somewhere. And the inspiration for this was from this letter that I got from someone who says, thank you so much for the opportunity to work with you. I had an amazing time, learned lots. Your life is inspiring to say the least. I wish there were more people like you. Thank you for your passion to see others grow and learn. I can't wait to see your page blow up and help even more. And that I can't wait to see your page blow up really means the world, because I hope in your case it's the same. Whatever you are creating, the audience that should listen or watch or read deserves your work to blow up, because the more people that get to consume the content you create, the more people that you help. And it might just be something entertaining, like music or a sleep story, or it could be like clothing. Either way, you're bringing great value to your audience. And if you aren't, that's probably lesson one, is to shift your mindset around either solving problems for people or bringing value, or both. How do you help people? I've had so much coaching about online business that it's almost embarrassing to say. Over the years, starting with learning from people like David Siteman Garland and John Lee Dumas about how to create awesome online courses or build a podcast, Pat Flynn, Jamie Masters, Rory and AJ Vaden, I've learned from, if there's an online business creator in the last 10 years, I've probably had their coaching in some way, shape, or form, even going back to the early days of Ty Lopez when I paid like $199 for a social media course. And I can remember my heart sinking because that felt like so much money. But now to pay $5,000 or $10,000 to invest in my own personal brand and my business, that doesn't feel like any more than that 199. It's pretty interesting how this stuff is always relative. And that's probably a second good lesson for business, is that as you continue to level up, those feelings of angst around being able to create content and put yourself out there or invest in yourself financially, like those feelings don't really go away. They just continue to level up. New level, new devil. And each time you just want to be progressing. The reason why I said it's almost embarrassing to have all of those coaches over the years is because of the reason that I was going to them and how blind I was to that reason. I was going to them looking for answers when it comes to building my own business around the who, what, when, why, and how. Like, give me the answers that will make me successful. What I didn't understand is that all of those answers come from within. The answers are in the dirt. Now, there are some common concepts and through lines, which I hope that these videos will help you with, that can allow you to go step by step. But when it comes to figuring those things out, there's no real wrong answer. Every marketing strategy could work. Every different price point could work. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in future videos. But what is unique to you is the main thing that you need to figure out. You don't have to pay any money to do that. If you're checking out this episode, then I can only assume that you know how important it is to own something, to start some kind of business for yourself. I made a recent episode about why the rich get richer and why we need to own something to build leverage, because I wanted people to fully understand how important ownership is at first. Now, when I share how important it is for you to own something, a lot of times people get squeamish. They kind of shrink down if they're not used to this idea. Now, let me first clarify that you don't have to build a big tech startup. You could start by selling cards around Christmas time or ornaments, or you could make some sneaker art. You could build a lemonade stand once a year. It doesn't really matter. In my case, I have a podcast, I'm creating books, I do coaching and different offers in the business world. But the point is, own something. It does not need to be a full-time job. It does not even need to be half-time. I used to say to my brother that you can create 1% of your output as something you own. Build your Madden gaming channel. That's something that you fully own. So if you're here and you appreciate the idea of ownership, then the next question becomes, how do we build these things? And there's a few secrets, tips, tricks that get floated around the internet. My goal with this series, the next whole bunch of episodes in a row, is to help you understand how to put the dominoes in the right order when it comes to building an online business. Now, my goal for this is to build a successful creator business, let's say to $1 million over the next 2 years. That might seem like a short amount of time. It might seem like a long time, but I love in Noah Kagan's book how he titled it $1 Million Weekend. Now that would be a little bit fast, I think, but the point about that book is actually just to see how you can validate your $1 million idea within 48 hours with real proofs that you know you're on track to build a $1 million business. And again, that number might seem like a lot, but I promise you, if you stick with this series and you build yourself, all of a sudden, your goal is going to shift way beyond the $1 million mark, which right now might be something you disagree with. You might be surprised by that, but I promise you, all of a sudden you'll be like, whoa, $1 million business wasn't really enough. And you'll see why later on. Now, our goal with this is to build a $1 million business. And in terms of the timeline, I hate goals. I've actually created content and written about the fact that I think goal setting sucks. But as a fair estimate, let's say the goal could be to build $1 million business over the next couple years or so. Now, when I went into college to become a teacher, all I really thought about at the time was your conventional teaching, working in a high school. You know, the bells, the lunch breaks, the homework, the essays, the assignments, the exams, the report cards, and the whole system. I didn't really realize at the time how important the teaching itself would become. And the reason I bring this up is because I want you to create a personal brand, a business around this concept of teaching, of being a teacher, because you have great knowledge, wisdom, intuition that you can share with others that right now you might not believe people would pay for, but the truth is they will. They will invest in your ability to teach. And so throughout this entire time, you'll be building expertise, but I also want you just to keep in mind what are things that you can teach. And right now, because I've been through this with hundreds of people before, you might think that there's nothing you can teach. But I promise you, by going through the entire series, you're going to start to develop belief in different things that you could teach. And it gets a little bit esoteric, but that ability to actually be a great teacher, not just the suit and tie standing at the front of the classroom, but everybody. If you're a social media creator, a filmmaker, any type of business owner, a salesperson, your ability to teach, to educate is actually extremely important to building out your entire business ecosystem. Now, over the last couple of years of my own ownership in the form of the podcast, I've gotten to learn from some incredible business leaders. You can look through the whole list, but Alex Fasulo comes to mind, Brendan Kane, Sister Helen Prejean, Majora Carter, just so many people who have built incredible businesses around their own personal brands. Buster Shear in episode 1 even, we got talking about how long to stick with a particular niche, when you should build out a product or a service, and how to be a great marketer at such a young age. I mean, the list goes on. All of my guests pretty much have built incredible personal brand businesses. And if I could go back to episode 1, I would have launched products or services right from the get. Because the tough thing that I've learned over the couple years and hundreds of interviews is that we don't get to build a sustainable show just because we want to. And this is the part that I could pretty much cry over because of how exhausting it was, is thinking like, look at Joe Rogan. Once he makes it to a couple thousand episodes, like I just got to keep going and then I'll get there. Well, you can't get there because you'll burn out unless it's sustainable. And the only way to make your creator business sustainable is that second word, business. How do you actually create the business part of becoming a creator? And so if I were to give you advice in this first episode, I would say start thinking about how do you make money from day one. We can pivot, we can scale, we can do different things later on, but don't say, oh, I'm going to wait until episode 100, or I'm going to wait 6 months, or I'm going to even wait 3 episodes. Like, think about the business aspect of building your podcast right from day one. What could you launch today? What could you teach? What could you provide as a service from day one that solves a problem for people in a specific way, and launch it as soon as you launch your content? Now, today's homework is going to be looking at this Ikigai map. Ikigai is a Japanese concept that means a reason for being. And you're going to look around this map and ask yourself, what are you good at? What do you enjoy? What do people need in the world when it comes to these things that you're good at and you enjoy? And just list things that you could teach, that you could possibly teach. For now, just brainstorm, how could these be a product or service? There's no wrong answers. Just get the juices flowing, and feel free to go talk to friends about this if you'd like. Reach out to me and I'll help if I can. There will be more detailed ways that will go into planning your business, but for right now, I want you to just keep it really simple. brainstorm what things could you teach? What are you good at? What do you like to do? What do people in the world need? And any of those things could become a book, they could become a YouTube channel, a podcast, or they could become a service that you offer to others. Now, one last quick point. I know that when I was really struggling with picking a niche, it was because I'm extremely multi-passionate. I want to do paintings. I want to write poetry. I want to help teenagers and people in college trying to figure out their career or business pathways. I want to help other former athletes like me who want to build personal brands around speaking or writing. I want to do so many things. And trying to juggle all of these things at the same time was exhausting to the point of burnout, but only because I was missing one important piece of information. I'm not even sure where it came from. Probably a podcast episode, a mentor somewhere, or some light bulb went off. But you can do all of those things. But just doing one thing at a time is the key. So for each episode you create, you have to have a very, very specific niche. Drill down as far as possible. When it comes to your painting, have a very specific audience in mind. If you write poetry, well, who's that poetry book for, and what problem are you solving for them by creating it? If you launch a lead magnet or you create a product within your business, who is your core audience? How do you solve a problem for them in a specific way? And get very, very, very specific, but about each thing you do. And it can be in your overall solar system, your overall ecosystem of the business that you're building, almost like a holding company. You're holding all of these different niches if you're the multi-passionate type person. If not, then you can just get very niche, very specific, and that's probably easiest. It's probably best. In the next episode, I'll show you how all of the creative entrepreneurs that I've looked up to have built their millions. And one thing you're going to notice is that their business models are almost all identical. Brendan Burchard, Daniel Priestley, Myron Golden, John Meese, they've all built their businesses in almost the exact same way. So I'm going to copy it with this building in public business, and you can copy it too. We'll talk about that in the next episode. Until then, all the best and just keep learning.